Thank you.
Hey, welcome to our third microcurrent with me. And today we're going to work, from what I now understand, we're working the fascia hour program. If you have the new unit, then that is program 2 to you, not program 1. So we're going to start with program 2. And we're going to not do the neck today in the holding pattern. We're going to start along the face. Now, last time we held the probe like this. This time, or last time, I think we held the probe like this. This time we're going to hold it horizontally. I also did a little something before prepping, and I just kind of reminded me because I was thinking, dang, this current feels super strong. I did like a mini microneedling, just a 0.2, very, very mild. It's really more of like a micro channeling before I did microcurrent. Curious to see if it created less impedance or barrier resistance from the skin, which obviously it would, right? So play around with it, think outside the box. You might want to try that if you're practicing this at home. We're going to do, again, kind of in the pattern of how we've been doing microcurrent this session, 3 minutes. And so we do 3 minutes because 3 minutes is when we get the physiological change of tissue when we're releasing fascia. We also give the skin adequate time to accommodate the electrons. The strength, so go ahead and place your probe. I've got the timer set. The strength of the current really depends upon your sensitivity. We're so trained in aesthetics that no pain, no gain, but microcurrent is actually different. And the way I learned was a doctor out of London was the first person to introduce this microcurrent to me. And this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And she talked about microcurrent being a millionth of an amp. And it is the whisper to the cells versus a TENS unit, which is 1,000th of an amp. And when you go to the chiropractor, many times a chiropractor will put a TENS unit on that purposely contracts a muscle and releases it. In the pattern in the brain, what this does is it's almost like a pain blocker. That's one reason they contract that and they release it. It stops pain. Microcurrent, on the other hand, is much, much less. These create many type of mini contractions in the tissue that create action potentials and increase the need for ATP in the mitochondria. And this is what we're really trying to achieve. So microcurrent should never be painful. It should never be tolerated. It should be something that you almost feel like it's just caressing and tickling the cells. And afterwards, you can't quite identify what the difference in the face is. You just feel a sensation, an energy, kind of just like a glowing. When I first started doing microcurrent, I was 38. And I remember just thinking, I called it the ugly day facial because I just thought there's just some days you wake up and you're like, ugh. But if you did microcurrent, it was like an instant glow, an instant charge to the cells that you really were putting your best skin forward after a microcurrent treatment. So we're just kind of right in this area, right along the jawline. We're just kind of just tickling that tissue, getting it a little bit active. When we activate it, we get these cells charged, we instantly optimize cellular behavior. So we're not creating any change that the tissue doesn't do already, but we are giving it energy. It's kind of like you're going to clean the kitchen, but every now and then you have a cleaning lady come in and she gets that boost, and that's what microcurrent does. So now we're going to move this over right to the jaw, I don't have the top two really going anywhere. I'm still working kind of with the bottom 8. And I'm just going to hold it here. So when I talk about normal cellular function, what I mean is kind of like the metabolism of the cell. So we have an action potential, and it's a little door around the gate. And these doors require kind of an electrical boost to open and close. And one of these doors is a sodium door and a potassium door, and it's called the sodium potassium exchange. And that doesn't mean a lot to you if you aren't into cells, but for those that are, understand that this is the way the cell excretes waste. So we have like a sodium potassium exchange for the cell to kind of put out its byproducts and bring in more nutrients it needs to do the cellular functions. And then we have an oxygen carbon monoxide exchange, and that's done through breath. So one thing I want you to do is uncross your legs if your legs are crossed, and sit up in a comfortable position and place your opposite hand on your belly. And I want you to inhale through your nose, extending the belly out in this inhale. And then I want you to exhale all the way to the spine. And we're going to breathe kind of like a box. So we're going to inhale for 6 seconds. We're going to hold for 6 seconds. We're going to exhale for 6 seconds. We're going to hold for 6 seconds. And what we're doing during that time is we're bringing in oxygen, and we're exercising the diaphragm by extending the belly. We're pulling that muscle down, and we're holding that down. So it's kind of like a little tension hold on that diaphragm. And then when we exhale, we're pushing all of that oxygen out. And then we're holding it up there intentionally. So this exercise is great for our rib cage and the expansion and the ability to breathe. But in another way, we're also increasing our oxygen input by almost 600%. When we inhale through our diaphragm, we're able to bring in more oxygen to this whole area. And what happens is that oxygen is carried to the cells, and the cells receive it. At the same time they receive it, they release toxins to the receptor that we exhale. And that's a really important exchange, especially when we're doing microcurrent, because oxygen is also fuel in the blood. So in this next series, we're going to move up, we're going to turn the probe around, and we're going to place it in the center part of the mouth, right here. So I'm only using 2. You need to kind of re-up your gel around this area, you can, but we're just going to be using these front probes. So we're just going to hold right here. And while we're doing this, I want you to breathe in through the diaphragm. And hold. And exhale. And hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Sometimes even doing it at 6 seconds creates almost like an anxiety on the exhale. It's almost as though, oh my God, I'm not going to get any air. Where's my air? I want you to soothe your mind. Have the ability to breathe. Don't feel fear or claustrophobic. Just kind of warm up to it. And if 6 seconds is too long, go for 5 seconds. But as you start to increase the elasticity and the flexibility of this muscle and the diaphragm, you're going to be able to hold your breath longer and inhale longer. So this is a muscle. I remember just learning to breathe through my belly coming from, the 70s. We sucked in our stomach the whole time. Like we just, it was our goal. We tried to barely breathe. And yeah, so learning to extend my belly breathing and take it in was really uncomfortable for quite a long time. So you can kind of set, I did show in another video, show it real quick, this app that I use. You keep holding. I'm gonna take a screenshot and expand this. And you can see this is the app called Timer Plus. I love it. It's free. And it is an incredible thing to look at for the breathing, also for any of the microcurrent treatments. If you're like 3 minutes is just too long, okay, now we're going to move and we're going to use just these 8. It's just a nice way to hold things. I set mine at the meditation gong, so I can be in the car while someone's driving. I can be watching TV. Again, I can do it at nighttime if I wake up in the middle of the night. And I guess I say that because if you don't have a ton of time during the day and it's just in your nightstand, it's kind of the neat thing about the size of the unit. We're just kind of holding. It's an excellent way to get the tissue kind of activated. It is also like watching paint dry. That's why sometimes if you're listening to a book, if you're on the foam roller, you could just maybe put the foam roller vertically and just lay your spine on it and opening up your whole chest area. It's kind of a nice way. Were you able to take a picture?
Yes.
Good.
I actually watched your first video after the fact, so I did everything beforehand. So
That's awesome. It really surprises me, even 30 years, but 50. So 20 years later, it just always amazes me. Microcurrent of all the beauty treatments is the one thing I consistently do. Microcurrent, microneedling. Everything else, I kind of just don't, even sometimes skincare. I just like, I'll put this on.
I have to say it's amazing.
How old are you?
69.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How long have you done microcurrent?
Probably about 3 years
Okay.
or so. I mean, I did it with other devices and then graduated up. So,
Good.
but I also do microneedling and all that too. So I'm very, very diligent with my skin.
That's awesome. And you're out east, which is nice. So you don't have you have sun, but more seasonally. And now we're going to come up to the 4 right underneath the eye. This is a great area because there's a lot of lymph in this area. You also have this little muscle that runs here, and this really kind of lifts up underneath the nose, so it lifts those cheeks up where it helps keep that muscle toned. This is also really great because this tissue does get so thin and crepey. So microcurrent does keep this healthy for any age and the tissue. A lot of times you maybe see people that get their lower eyes done and they get this pulling down, and this is a loss of elasticity, but also scar tissue. A microcurrent really helps kind of release in that area. I've got somebody I'm working on with that right now. While I'm talking, just kind of continue to breathe. I love that you do the fascia release on the body. It's so important. I was just doing an assessment on a gal, and she's 18, and she's been a tennis player her whole life. And she had a surgery on her forearm, and she was having trouble just kind of in that. And it's her right hand, so it's a serving. And so I was doing her kind of the biomechanical alignment with her and assessing where her fascial anchors are. And the kids today are aging so much faster. You know, their hands are forward, their shoulders are coming forward. You know, we have this collapsing of the rib cage, and we're seeing such a difference in their posture, even in athletes, that
Huh.
it's really crazy. It's just, wow, you know, we need to do footwork, we need to do this, and it just reconfirms that the body is a whole system. Even if we're working on the face, we have to work on the body for the optimal. And by all means, you don't. I have friends that just they like just go blue in the face when I'm talking. They're like, just easier to get a facelift. And I agree. It totally is. Like, but I just don't want to be that 1%. We're going to come right up to the top. Now we're hitting all four corners of the subicularis oculi, and this is a round muscle. So we've kind of got it in every corner, and we're stimulating this whole area here. But even plastic surgeons can work with the foundation that you give them. And what I try to say is, like, I've got a girlfriend that's had her eyes done 3 times in 2 years, and she blames the surgeon. And then I have another girlfriend that's had 3 neck lifts in 5 years, and she blames the surgeon. And I'm like, maybe look at those exact same things happening. There's a habit here in the body that's pulling this down. There's an adhesion, and the body is always going to win. The system is structured for balance and protection. And if something isn't changed, then we're always going to have the root cause that created the superficial concern in the first place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's really important. And the block therapy, whether you use that or you use the rollers or you use the block therapy with the rollers, I'm a big believer. But damn, it's just like, okay, there's another 15, 20 minutes. So I just go, I'll be upstairs in a minute. Or I'm like, was watching TV last night. Oh my gosh, we watched the best thing. It's on PBS. It's the Lewis and Clark. It's 2 episodes. But if you like documentaries, it was really interesting. Lewis and Clark traveling from St. Louis to find the Pacific Ocean. And the only thing I could say afterwards is like, wow, we are a bunch of wimps. Like there's no way. The moment one Indian was pissed at me, I'd be like, okay, I'm going back. These guys, what they endured over 3 years is incredible. On a horse and paddling, that's where I'm sure it came up, paddling upstream. They
Yeah.
paddled against the current up the Missouri River.
Crazy.
It's nuts. Anyway, so as I'm watching this, I was thinking, I'm looking at our coffee table, thinking it's a real long sofa, so it's a super long coffee table. I'm thinking, I could so easily do block therapy and watch this at the same time. I'm gonna move out to the side. I know, that's how, but if I could do it, then Bernie will do it. But if I'm not doing it, there's no way. I mean, even if I tried to do it, just do it and tell him what to do. He's just like, no, I don't want to do it. And he needs it way more than I do, because he's an engineer, he's at his computer all the time. But yeah, so if you can figure out where you can watch TV or do something, or it really is a nice meditation, but you have to allow yourself the time, just like you're allowing yourself the time here to actually do something and be still and certain with it. It's nice.
Well, for someone who's taught fitness classes over 20 some years, I'm all about stuff like that anyway. So
I love that. What type of fitness did you teach?
I taught aerobics before, and then step classes before step was really, before it really took off, and then it took off. So, but yeah. And then, circuit training and that sort of thing. So a lot of weight training. I've done that over through the years. Still do it, but
It's funny. I was laughing because back before IDEA, and
mhm.
I think it was 15, there was a gym that opened up, and this gal Becky and her husband owned it. She was like the first person I ever saw with breast implants. I'm from a small town. This is like 82. And I remember just going, I'm going to teach aerobics. I walked right in there. I think literally was 16. And I was like, I want to teach aerobics. And what'd she say? Okay, take a couple of classes and then you can teach. And I just did. It was just something. And all through college, taught aerobics,
Yeah.
and I really wondered why. And kind of like where you were with step, I was around with step, but I was actually working for Reebok at the time,
Mhm.
and got into Pilates way before Pilates was Pilates. And today I can't even believe I mean, I stopped because I had 3 kids. And I thought, how am I going to afford 3 kids?
I get it.
So I let the studio go. I was in California at the time and got into skincare. And now it's like my daughter has kind of continued in the footsteps. She's amazing. She's combined block therapy, and she's kind of creating her own, as kind of bugs me because I'm a traditionalist Pilates person, but she's doing a yin Pilates.
Ah,
And it's interesting because she'll go, come take my class. And I just go, I get angry. Not angry, not like, I'm going to hit her or something, but like, I'm so not strong like that anymore. And she goes, I can't believe you can't do this. And they even like the stretching. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not realize I am this tight. When did this happen?
yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Yeah.
It really does, especially, but I imagine you are in way better shape than 90% of women in how old did you say you were?
About 69, but I still do bike riding, I still do a lot of training, so I keep it up.
That's so awesome. I I just made it my goal. I just thought I don't want to be tight. I don't want a hip replacement. I don't want knee replacements. I really don't even want a facelift. I talk
Yeah.
about it all the time, and I certainly look at them all the time. But lately I've been looking at, and this is so silly because I never thought an actress could influence me, but this Pamela Anderson,
Oh, yeah.
she's just, she is just gorgeous. And I thought, you know, I just feel like we can do this and we can age more soulfully and not so perfectly. But trust me, it's a battle
every day.
every day.
But that's just it. If you stop doing it, that's when it starts going south.
It does. And it's hard to get back.
Hmm.
I mean, it doesn't just come back. And I try to explain that to people. I'm like, it's not necessarily the surgery or the hip replacement. It's how your body is capable of processing it. Where is your inflammatory rate? It's even with facelifts, microneedling, like have you heard of Ellipore?
Hmm. Yes.
That's intriguing to me. But it's kind of like you have to do your work prior. You're going to make sure your inflammatory markers are low. There's so many things that could go wrong, as many things as can go right. There are a lot of things that can go wrong. And you have to prep for this stuff. And manufacturers and doctors don't tell you that, especially if you're estrogen, if you're not producing estrogen. All right, so take a little break and kind of key into how does your side that you just worked feel versus the side that you didn't.
It good. It just feels alive. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Do you have a mirror that you can
Yeah.
go?
I'm sitting in front of it.
This side that I worked on is the side that looks like I have a stroke. And I guess I point this out because we didn't even go into muscle. All we did was stimulate tissue, but we're still getting a result. So you don't have to do each program each time. It's really like just choose, okay, today we did this. On Wednesday, we're going to do muscle and we'll do it a different way. But it really does make huge difference. Or today's Wednesday, Sunday, we'll do muscle. And I'm thinking, you can think about this, you get your roller or a towel. I was thinking of combining it with body release at the same time.
Oh, okay.
If that would be something, it'd be a little bit different, but it is kind of fun to just do two things at one time.
I have several sizes of rollers anyway, so I have a small one. That'll be work.
Perfect. Kind of holding right at the bottom. Again, you can go either way. You can just go with these and then we'll go on this side. Let's start that this way here. Just do the 4. This is the part underneath the lip. I don't have the lines, but it is longer. And I notice that. I keep trying to think what tissue would be pulling that down. It's going. It does seem faster when you do it with somebody. I think I said in another one of the videos, I would not do as detailed on my own. I do it for like 20 minutes and I'm like, okay, done. Unless again, I'm in front of the TV and my brain is somewhere else.
You could do this with 2 lifts, correct?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because I have 2. So I thought when I do it by myself, I'm gonna try with 2.
No, you can. Actually, that's a good one. I might see how many, a lot of people do have 2. And it does absolutely make the treatment much faster. It's not too much microcurrent for the body to process. So it's nice. Right, that's a good idea. I might put that out in my
Do you process it differently when you're doing one side and then the other side versus both sides at the same time? Your body?
Now, when we would do like testing on certain things, it was always hard to see if one side was more accurate than the other, because when we're doing this, we're setting the channels down here and the electrons are going to a certain location, but it's not to be said that they're not also finding their way around. So it was always thought that this, when you do one side, the other side lifts faster because it's already got the microcurrent in the system.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But we don't, microcurrent, because it's such a low barrier to entry, meaning it's not a patent process. Microcurrent is a millionth of an amp. That is the magic. That's why so many companies talk about pattern or sequencing or waveform or anything. And I'm not cutting myself short by any means, because for my program, I based it off of light and how electrons work with light and receiving in the cells, and that's through pulses versus one static flow. So when they did a lot of research on LED, they found that the cells responded more favorably to lighter little pulses versus just a direct light, a continuous flow. And so when I did the microcurrent, I did the same thing. I chose to do my pulses, or kind of feeding of electrons, in bursts, in very light bursts. And that's why for my program, I like to hold, because I'm really genuinely whispering to the cells. And again, it was explained to me and I would do this in my classes, someone knocks on your door and you open it and someone just starts shouting at you, "Can I have a cup of sugar?" It would be quite alarming. You'd be like, "Whoa, yeah, I'll get you your sugar." You'll obey, but you kind of like, I don't really like this person. They're kind of weird. Versus someone that comes and knocks on the door and says, "Hi, I'm your neighbor. I'm making brownies. I'm out of sugar. Do you happen to have any?" And then you're like, "Yeah, I'd love to help." Well, that's kind of like current. And when we're trying to encourage the cells to do things, we can't just blast them. We have to kind of encourage them. And so that's how they found light was more favorably received. And the chromophore, which is a receptor in the mitochondria to increase ATP. And so that's why I chose, a very light. Now, the unit I was first trained with out of London was very similar. And I don't think that it did well here because of that. I feel that a lot of people just were like, "I don't feel it. It's not doing anything." And people, New Face came out and we had a lot of over the counter, and you could feel the micro kind of contractions in the tissue. And to that registered to the consumer, this is good. It can be good, but too much stimulation can also have the adverse effect.
Right.
Start to see change, but then it can quickly fall because the body, and given the age, may not have the capacity to create the ATP to keep up with the demand of these stronger contractions. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So that is one reason I like to hold longer. But it was going back to why microcurrent, I mean, it's taken off. People talk about it, but people will go, well, why doesn't my doctor do it? Why doesn't, why don't I see it more? If it works so well, why isn't, you know, the medical industry into it? Well, they are. The medical industry is into it under a different pretense. They do it more for wound healing.
Right.
Exact reason we do it on our skin. We're doing it to regenerate the energy, but a lot of times with ulcerated wounds, that person doesn't have the capacity or the ATP for the healing. So they do a constant low current or a pulse current on the ulcerated wounds. But it's a low barrier to entry because the magic is in the millionth of an amp. It's not in the waveform or the and any of that. It's the magic is in the millionth of the amp. And that's, research for the cost of making a unit and the research to confirm that this unit actually does what it doesn't pan out from a researcher perspective and grants perspective. So that's one reason that we don't see a lot with microcurrent. But empirically, I mean, I have women your age in California that continually, they've done it since, their 30s. And they still look amazing. They're that iconic California woman surfer in Malibu. They still look awesome. And that was a big believer, made me a big believer. And I don't know, I remember bringing it up to a girlfriend. I was still in LA, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And her husband worked for a laser company. And he goes, oh, that's stupid. It's whatever. Well, the difference in our skin today is night and day.
Well, especially if you do it continuously. That's the key for everything.
It is, but I can't say that unless I do these challenges, then I'm doing it every 2 days. Otherwise, I probably do it 2 times a month.
Hmm.
And
Well,
I do like the challenges because I will do it. And I just made a commitment to somebody. I was like, you know what? I can do this. It's fun. It's a great way. If I can include some other things in it,
I
then
just like the way it feels, and just the way my skin feels afterwards, even if I only do it 15 minutes. So
exactly, right? I do it sometimes before we go out at night, I've got them all stashed all over the house.
I like to product penetration too when I do some of my skincare. So I'll do that. So
Yep. No, you're so right. It's everything. And I like LED. Um, I don't do it as often as I should. I mean, the tools are right there. So now we're gonna come over and just do that lip area. Perfect.
yeah, I have full body panels.
Which brand did you go with?
Mito red light. They're out of Arizona.
To look into that. I just sold my light stem bed. I closed my clinic here, and I still have a smaller clinic that I just work out of. So there was no place to put it, and there was no place in the house. So I kind of did that, and I'm just starting to really look into it to see if there was. So much advances have been made in LED.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing.
I also have a Radiant Health infrared sauna. That's amazing.
Oh, that's interesting. We're looking into that.
They are absolutely amazing.
So the infrared versus the heat, like, because we do cold plunging.
It'd be perfect, actually. You could do either or with it. I mean, you could do that with it. Some people do. I don't have the place for that part unless I took a cold shower.
Right now, we just do the pool because it's cold. And I don't know. Like yesterday, it was really cold and I was like, I really don't want to do it. But everything I read, they go, you never really want to do it. It's
True.
like, come on, let's do it. But then I was like, it would be so nice to have a sauna to do beforehand and then go to the cold plunge.
That was a really good investment, I have to say.
Okay. Which one is it again?
It's Radiant Health.
Radiant Health.
They're actually out of Canada and they do the Canadian wood, whatever, so it doesn't shrink and all that with the weather temperature, the changes. And they have a distribution center, I think, in obviously in the US. So, but low EMS or zero EMS anyway in that one. So,
That's huge.
mhm.
No, that's really big. That's interesting you bring that up because I kind of struggle with like the Beamer mat and have had all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But then when you look at the EMF, I'm wondering, I don't get that. We're sitting on electricity, and then how does that work with like my grounding mat on my mattress? So now we're going to
I probably need more.
move right up in here, right underneath the eye. You might notice that one side is more sensitive, like, and you have to adjust your current. What on the machine you bought in November, what setting do you have yours on? On like,
It's on 45,
okay.
45. Yeah. I usually have to go higher on this program versus when I go to the other
Yes, you would, because there are different type of this
current.
shallow. But 45 is about normal unless you have really thin skin, then sometimes people are less. I mean, some people I can only have on 10. It's just interesting how everybody is different.
When I use the gloves, I have to have it on 100, but I know that's pretty much par for the course.
It is because the gloves are all conductive. And so you've got a current that is amortized now through a whole hand, right? Whereas
Mhm.
right now we're just using 4. So the current is coming through when the current contacts the skin, those become activated and these become inactivated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it can vary on how many you're using. If you lift it up and just do 2, now all of that 45 is going through these 2. And when you put the 4 down, now the 45 is kind of amortized between the 4. Do you still teach any classes?
No, I don't. I miss it, but I don't.
You're certainly not too old.
No.
There's this guy I watch every now and then on Instagram. He teaches this dance class and it's so like old time aerobics. It just looks, and he does great songs from the 80s. He's out in New York. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he is just having the time of his life.
I guess I'm just lazy. I don't want to be recertified because I have to go through recertification, and I just don't.
Right. No, that would be. I'm gonna put this right in here. Where do you live?
In Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. would you have to get recertified for the state?
Now, through like AFA or IDEA, whichever one that they do. I mean, I was certified both of them before, but I taught before you even needed to be certified. So, because I was living in, I think, Massachusetts when I really started teaching a lot. So,
Yeah.
and they didn't make you did not have to be certified because I taught, low impact, high impact, and then STEP came into the picture, and
It's a fun way. I still go to, it's like a boot camp type thing in Heath though.
hmm
First time I went, I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have a heart attack. Like, I'm seriously like, oh my God, I gotta follow my own advice. It was just like, my daughter was like, I can't believe you did that class of all classes to start with. And I'm like, why did you um it just kind of reminded me like it's fun to take classes with people. I have a whole setup here. I don't need to, I mean, I've got so many systems and I've been certified in so many things. It's just like, yeah, just do it here. But when we did do a class, it was like fun to be with people, and you're like, oh, it is kind of why these are so classes are so fun because you're with a team of people. You know, there's just something fun about being with people. Couple more seconds, just folding, and then we're going to slide all the way out. And then we'll do the forehead. Out. I'm excited to see your before and after in the 30 days. I can already just tell it's like microcurrent. If you've done it a while, just re-engages so quickly. Like muscle memory, I guess. One product I've been taking, you should check it out. It sounds like you would be interested in it, is Mito Pure. Have you heard of that?
no, can't say as I have. What is
This is that methylation blue. I'm just
ah
trying that, seeing if what that does.
okay.
It doesn't make your skin blue either. Like, not really. Um, so timeline is called Eurarhythmia A. And I first heard it with Dave Ashbury, and he talks about it as like a big thing that your cells need for the mitochondria. I was kind of like skeptical, but then I heard Dr. Hyman talk about it. Then I heard Dr. Gundry talk about it. And really, everybody talks that is into health talks about how important the supplement is. So I get it. And I don't have any real high hopes. I'm just curious. I buy 2-3 month things. I have Bernie on it. I'm on it. And they say you really notice a difference in the second month. And it creates energy in the mitochondria, but also the muscle. And I'm telling you, like my muscle tone started coming back. And it really made me think about when we do microcurrent on the face. Like, wow, this might be a game changer. So you might want to look into it. It is expensive, but even when I was talking to my mom, who's in her 80s yesterday, she's on it too. she's like, oh, it was a game changer. She still plays tennis, she still runs, and she even felt it.
Oh,
So I thought that's kind of a really good supplement. And when I was talking about supplements, I think that we have to, I used to think I'll never do that. I'll never be that person. My pill box gets bigger every trip. Like I just look
I get that.
pretty got the little one, right? It looked like it would hold 3 pills. And I was like, what is that? So then he got me the mega one. Like,
I have packets. You make your own
right?
envelopes.
Yeah, maybe that's what I mean, it's crazy. Um, it's crazy, but oh, you know what? We're gonna do all 4. I don't think we did that. Did we do that?
I don't think so.
Um, but the EurythMA is big, and the other one, I'm a huge believer, and I've talked with this company and the doctors. I found out about a year ago, and it was interesting because I was kind of in that menopausal space of like not having a lot of energy. And I started this supplement called Fatty 15. And I'll post these links in there if you don't guys, if you don't remember them. But
Please.
um, Fatty 15 is a saturated fat that's more beneficial than fish oil. And they found it during this dolphin research. And they couldn't figure out like why some dolphins were getting Alzheimer's and some weren't, because this is a specialized, kind of a special type of situation, because these are Navy dolphins. They all eat the same diet. They're all doing the same thing. And dolphins can't sneak off for a glass of wine and a cigarette. So it's a very controlled group. And it couldn't figure out why some dolphins were aging faster than others. And it turned out, long story short, it was the fish that the dolphin were eating, what parts of the fish that dolphin got. And they went in and they scanned these fish and they actually broke it down to find this molecule, the C15. And it's a saturated fat. So they're getting ready to publish this. And then like the fatty or the omega-3 people come in and they're like, with all respect, we wouldn't have missed this. It's kind of our thing. This is all we do. And they're like, by all means, look at our research. They look at the research and they're like, holy shit, we missed this. We never thought that there was this molecule we were missing. So long story short, it came out in 2020. It was supposed to come out as a medical supplement. But when 2020 happened, they're like, there's no way. So because of the amount of investment, they decided to come out as a supplement. And this is really a tough one because the supplement market is so saturated. How are they going to be believable? How are they going to differentiate themselves from every other claim out there? So they have done a tremendous amount with education and research and backing up everything. They're on so many podcasts. Again, I heard about this with Mark Hyman and a lot of other people. And then I reached out to them because I was just fascinated, and so much at the time I was doing so much skin. You really need these essential fatty acids for the phospholipid barrier, or kind of the bilayer of the cell. And I started taking it. And of course, if it says 1, I'm going to take 4 just to see if there's a difference. And I remember it was March, like May 15th. I'm sitting in my clinic and I'm like, God, I feel like working out. Like, I got to start working out. So I went home that night and I'm like, I'm just going to walk a couple miles. And then that became every day. And then I kept increasing it. And so now I'm walking 5 miles a day. And then a girlfriend called and she's like, do you want to go to this Pilates class? And I just had like, my whole thing shifted and my body started going back to my normal body. And it was when I really realized there is something to these supplements. So that's a fatty 15, and another one is spermidine. and it's a high grade wheat germ out of Japan. And that's been amazing for skin too.
Ah,
And the spermidine, there's two companies, both I feel are really good. I honestly, I go with Lifeline because there's a drinkable one and I'll just put it in my water when I'm walking. So I get that way. But you should just Google some of the stuff and listen to these podcasts and these professionals and these doctors. And I don't know why the medical system doesn't say, oh, hey, maybe try this, instead of blood pressure medicine.
that's the same thing with magnesium. They tell you you don't need it, but you do. I mean, it's the same,
So many deficiencies in magnesium. And you know what else? Iron.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about it because our iron thing is so low, our requirement. But when you start taking a supplement, you start really feeling better.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. What do you think about hydrogen water?
I've done it. I mean, especially when I would race, but it's okay. I mean, there's a place for it. Let me just say that.
Okay. All right. So now let's go to the toning segment. So that would be program 1 for you. And we're just going to kind of go over our face. Just to kind of brush it. How does your skin feel?
Fabulous. It always does after I do it. I actually like the holds. So,
Okay, good. I mean, it makes so much sense. Like when you look at some of the other programs, in the very beginning, and again, this is when we were first introducing microcurrent to an industry. And we working with estheticians, and they were the first company out of the UK. She would have you sit up. And this was so different for the consumer. I mean, on program 1, like my skin is so sensitive now, like I have to take it way down. I don't know how yours is.
yeah.
That they did microcurrent sitting up because you could really see how gravity was pulling down the skin. But when we were introducing microcurrent to the esthetician, they were so used to massage. And so we had to almost create movements that the esthetician and the consumer were used to feeling. But when you think about visually as you're doing this, and we're just running it over because this is just kind of to clear the lymph and to finish the face. When you think of an electron, it really needs time to sit. But if you're going like this, we're just kind of spreading it out topically. We're not really getting to the location because we're not giving the electron enough time to penetrate the impedance of the skin. That makes sense?
It does.
So the holding, I've always been a real fan of. It's just that it's very boring. But if an esthetician is doing it, she can use to, as a consumer, you can use to. And I'm going to put it out there on Sunday. Maybe we'll use 2 units. Or maybe next Wednesday, we'll use 2 units. And Sunday, I think I'm going to incorporate a little bit of body work with it.
Is there is 3 minutes the magic number, or is it 2 minutes? I mean, 3 better than 2, just out of curiosity.
It's you really
Okay.
know what works for you.
I was just wondering, that's all.
There
Sorry.
isn't there just isn't enough. 3 is going to saturate more than 2.
Well, yeah.
And that's the only thing. Is there a diminishing return aspect? I have no idea.
Mm.
I feel that 3 seems to be the magic number, though, so much in stuff that we do that I went with 3 versus 2.
I
But
like it. It's like, I just wouldn't.
for 2, if you don't have the time, is going to be far better than not doing it. All right, well, I'm going to upload this video to the day so you can replay it and watch
Absolutely.
it again. And on Sunday, I'll put a note out. Can you send me an email to byjaneman@gmail.com?
Okay.
Put you on the email list.
Oh, yes, to make sure, I would love to.
Yeah.
Because
So you
I would
have
like,
it, and then I'll tell you what to have
okay,
for the we're gonna do a little bit of rib cage. It's just mid work while we're still working the face.
okay.
And it'll just be a different way to do microcurrent.
So I had looked at the block therapy. I thought about investing in I guess it'd be the beginner program, the 2 blocks. So I might as well add that to my repertoire of workout stuff.
Absolutely. And if I can sell you the blocks and get you a free, I think it's 12-day class
Huh?
you can do for like a year if you want. Because again, change and just increasingly doing something changes something. So if it's something that you want to do, let me know and I can send you a link on that.
I'll email you. I'll email you and I'll give you my email address so you have it. Because yes, I would like the links and I would like to. I'm always about trying new product anyway, supplements, whatever. And because I've been in the fitness field for so long, I just like to keep up on things. So yes, a little.
Deanna, the program is amazing. There's certain people that can be on camera and keep you entertained. She and her nephew Quinn do, and she is a source of information. And given your background and your knowledge already, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be really great.
Yeah, because I love anatomy. I love anatomy and physiology. I'm just that's always been my thing. So yeah.
All right, so this video will be posted, and I look forward to Sunday and seeing you again.
I
And
will be there. Thank you so much for your time, seeing how I was the only one. Thanks.
I love
Appreciate
it. It's great. It's it's a hit and miss, but everybody benefits. So thank you for being there. It makes it go faster too.
All right. I'll see you Sunday.
Great. See you. Bye.
Bye.